Ever feel like someone was studying you instead of listening to you? Like they weren't reacting to your words, they were reacting to your reactions. Like they said something small, but it felt like a trap. What if I told you they weren't being random? They were testing you, and you didn't even know you were being graded. Here's what most people never realize. Humans test each other constantly, subconsciously, not because they're evil, not because they're manipulative masterminds, but because trust isn't given. It's built test by test. It happens in dating, in friendships, at work. Even with people you've known for years, people don't test you to hurt you. They test you to measure you. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. By the end of this video, you're going to notice it in conversations you had this week. So let's start. Someone teases you just a little too hard. Interrupts you mid-sentence. Cancels plans last minute like it's nothing. Small things, easy to ignore, easy to excuse, but underneath it, they're checking your floor. Every relationship has a floor and a ceiling. The floor is how badly someone can treat you. The ceiling is how well they'll ever try. Most people never think to check the floor because it feels petty. It feels like overthinking a small thing. But small things are never really small. They're previews. People calibrate to what you allow. If you tolerate small disrespect, they assume you'll tolerate bigger ones. Not out of malice, just math. Did a specific moment just come to mind? A joke that went too far. A time they canceled and you said it's fine when it wasn't. Hold on to that. We're not done. Everything was normal. Then suddenly it's different. Replies slower. Energy colder. Something feels off. Nothing was said, but something changed. Sometimes people pull back to see what you'll do next. Will you chase? Will you double text? Will you over-explain something that didn't need explaining? The moment you start chasing, the power shifts. And once it shifts, it rarely shifts back the same way. Most people fail this test without ever realizing they were being watched. They panic. They apologize for things they didn't do. They send the paragraph text at midnight trying to fix something that was never broken. And on the other side, silence. Not because the person doesn't care, but because they're watching to see if you can hold your own weight. Composure is its own answer. They say something like, "I don't think relationships really matter," or "You're too nice, you know that." It sounds harmless. Maybe it is. But sometimes it's a quiet question wrapped inside a casual sentence. Do you stand your ground, or do you bend to be liked? Translation: will you shrink yourself just to keep them comfortable? Here's the thing about values. You can say you have them, but values only mean something under a little pressure. Anyone can hold a boundary when nothing's testing it. The real question is what happens when someone challenges it lightly, almost like a joke, almost like nothing. Your nervous system speaks louder than your vocabulary. People can feel when you abandon your values, even if you're smiling while you do it. My ex used to do this better. Small sentence, heavy weight. Comparison isn't usually information, it's pressure. Pressure to compete, to prove, to perform. But confident people don't compete with ghosts. They stay steady because their worth was never up for a vote in the first place. Comparison is often a confidence detector. How you react in that moment reveals more than the comparison itself ever could. Do you spiral? Do you go quiet and small? Or do you just let it pass through you because you already know who you are? Here's the one most people completely miss. The test is almost never about what you say. It's about your tone, your face, how fast your emotions move. People remember how you felt in that moment far longer than they remember what you actually said. Calm people pass tests without even trying, not because they don't care, because they don't let the moment control them. Think about the last time you got defensive over something small. What did the other person actually walk away remembering? Not your explanation. Your face when you gave it. This one's subtle and almost nobody notices it happening. They ask you something. A week later, they ask you a slightly different version of the same question. So what do you actually want out of this? Then later, do you see yourself doing this long term? Then later, what matters most to you in a person? Different words, same question underneath. They're not forgetful, they're checking for consistency, because lies need memory, the truth doesn't. If your answer shifts every time based on what you think they want to hear, that's exactly what they're quietly noticing. People who are consistent don't have to remember their story. They just tell it every time because it's simply what's true for them. Sometimes the test isn't a question at all, it's silence. They don't say much, they just watch how you treat a waiter, how you react when plans fall apart, how you handle being mildly inconvenienced. This is one of the oldest, quietest tests there is because it can't be prepared for. You can rehearse an answer. You can't rehearse a reflex. Who you are when nothing is at stake is the version people actually trust. Before you judge anyone for doing this, including yourself, understand why it happens. Fear of betrayal, fear of wasting years on the wrong person, old wounds that never fully closed, a need for control in a world that feels random, insecurity dressed up as suspicion. Testing isn't usually manipulation. It's a scar wearing a disguise. But here's the truth nobody tells you. The more you try to pass someone's test, the more you actually fail it. Because trying to pass means you already feel beneath the examiner. Performing isn't confidence. It's anxiety in disguise. Confident people don't perform. They behave consistently. The same person whether they're being watched or not. So what do you actually do with all of this? Don't overreact. Don't over-explain. Don't chase approval like it's oxygen. Stay calm, not cold, just steady. Keep your boundaries subtle but firm. When you stop trying to impress, you automatically pass every test. Because strong people don't prove, they reveal. So the next time someone pulls away, says something sharp, or compares you to someone else, remember this. It might not be an attack. It might just be a question they don't know how to ask out loud. Can I trust you? And the answer was never in your words. It was in how steady you stayed while they were watching. Have you ever caught someone testing you in the moment? Which sign hit closest to home? Tell me below.